Hello, everybody. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to Steve Selikoff, who's currently in China. How you doing, Steve?
Good. How you doing today, Ed?
I'm doing amazing. And we had this idea of a podcast because everybody is talking about margins being squeezed. And you put out a comment which said, well, you got to do 7 times what your cost is. And I'm like, okay, why not eight? Why not 20? Obviously, how do you make 7 times, which it seems to me a very high number. So let's get straight to it. How can you possibly 7x a product, your cost?
Well, first of all, just to respond to the first statement, I have clients that are doing a 33x. We help them go from a 22x to a 33x. So it all starts at sourcing. The more profitable your product is, the more profitable your business is going to be. I have friends that do some incredible magic with PPC, and they can double, triple your sales. But if you're breaking even, the only thing that happens when you double or triple your sales is you're doubling or tripling your inventory costs. And suddenly you're running yourself out of business. Your question is, how do you get a 7x multiplier? Simple, flippant answer is negotiate better. And I don't mean it to be flippant. The reality is that a lot of Amazon sellers don't know how to negotiate with Chinese suppliers. And because of that, there's this myth that Chinese suppliers are going to just automatically give a better price to someone who contacts them, who happens to be a Chinese national, and so on. The truth of the matter is, most Westerners have learned to negotiate the same way. When Amazing Selling Machine came out with their original course, and I know a lot of gurus who are proud to point that they were in course 1 or 3 or 4 or 5. As someone explained to me, they had this much Amazon information and this much sourcing information. So a lot of mistakes, misinformation, bad techniques have just been passed down from course to course to course and repeated so many times they become gospel. But people are making mistakes. And when suppliers hear these things, they know that they're talking to someone who's unaware, insecure, that they're talking to someone who's perhaps a bit naive, gullible, and they're going to take advantage of them. I was in Hangzhou about a month ago, down at the headquarters of Alibaba. And when you go to Hangzhou, which is a really historical city, it's like the Florence of China, there is a giant statue of a Mongol on a horse. And that's because this was the head of the, this was the where Sung Dynasty ended, and Mongolians, Genghis Khan took over, was in Hangzhou. The whole world was terrified, devastated by Genghis Khan. They say that he killed so many people that the carbon dioxide levels went down. Everyone hates. However, one culture, the Chinese, besides hating them, also respected the Mongols because they outsmarted the Chinese. Historically, that's a virtue. And today, it's a virtue when you do business to outsmart everyone else. If you can be more clever than everyone else, your competition, your partners, whoever, that's valued. And if you get caught, it's nothing personal. They'll still go to dinner with whoever it is they were trying to outsmart. So if you realize from the beginning that your Chinese supplier is going to try to outsmart you, then you're prepared for that. It doesn't mean that they disrespect you. It means that they're just doing business. The other part of doing business with China is respect, is saving face. And it's a delicate diplomatic walk. You want to make sure that you're treating them with respect, and you form a partnership based on that respect. Lastly, you form a partnership based on the value that you bring to each other. And that's where things really become fun, because the more valuable you are to them, your price is going to drop.
Right.
There are every single product manufactured in China, US, Canada, Vietnam, Turkey, wherever. Every single product comes down to three things: time, labor, materials. On top of that, they will layer their operating costs. What does it cost to keep the lights on and the doors open? And then on top of that, that's where they're going to place the profit. How much do they think they can charge you? And unfortunately, Amazon sellers oftentimes are easily overcharged. That's why one of the first questions they ask is, where do you sell? And I tell my people, when they ask you, where do you sell? Your answer is USA. At least let them come out a little bit more obvious and say, oh, do you sell on Amazon? But they'll make it easy for them. The reason they're asking is because they're trying to find out if you're an Amazon seller. And if you are, they know they can push that profit level up higher. And I'm going to say something we talked about the other day. I was trying to count it up. I think I had 6, but I think it's 8 times in the last year my clients have had suppliers say to them, let me lower the cost for you. I had 2 women from Australia with me last October at the Canton Fair. They were looking at a product they eventually chose not to pursue, but I was with them because we teach them how to negotiate. I was with them in the afternoon. They saw the product, they liked it, they had good conversations, everything else, and went back to the hotel. That night, they got a text saying, please come back tomorrow morning. The owner of the company wants to talk to you. He thinks we can make the price lower and better for you. That's what negotiation's all about. Make them want to bring that down.
Right.
Because
I got
as long as
that.
they cover all of the, and it happens a lot, not all the time, but it happens enough times that if it's not happening, then go back and figure out what you're doing wrong.
Right, right. I mean, but all the information's out there. So I mean, you can easily see what it is on Alibaba. You can easily see. I understand what you're saying, and it's a great point. And if you can lower 10%, that's huge. I get that. But you said something about that you have sellers, clients who are doing 33x. Now, those people who are doing 33x on an item, they're obviously not going to Alibaba, finding it, putting their brand on it, and reselling it. They're obviously coming up with some kind of a ingenuity. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Innovation that's not simply based on doing a different color or different size or different flavor or fragrance, or going through the reviews and saying, oh, these are the things people want changed, because there are thousands of other people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Innovation
Yeah,
that makes it more valuable.
But so what's an example, if you can give me an example of, now obviously if it's one person, it's not a whole company. There's only so much innovation you could do. You're not gonna invent the Segway. It's not going to cure some kind of disease. But what's the kind of innovation what any person can do is a little smartness where you don't got to reinvent the bicycle. Like, can you give me some
I'll
examples?
give you an example of my first $1 million product. And by the way, when I say $1 million, when I talk any sort of returns, I'm talking profits. I'm not talking sales, because there's lots of people who do a hell of a lot of sales and are not making any money. So
Right.
this was also the first product I had that got into Bed Bath & Beyond.
Wow.
So my ex-wife had a disability. We had a little service dog. First night with the service dog, it changed our lives. Gabby, it was the best thing ever. So she climbed into bed. I climbed into bed. Gabby climbed into bed and pushed her over, which means she pushed me over. I'm on the edge of the bed, and I get the look, which means shut up, don't complain, don't say anything. And at the time I was working at Microsoft, I had a team in China and so on. I walked past a flower store and they had pillowcases, and the pillowcases said his side, her side, Romeo, Juliet, stuff like that. So I went in and I said, do you have any that say the dog side? Because this dog was taking up half the bed. And they said, no, but if we did, we'd sell 1,000,000 of them. Well, that was a light bulb moment. And I went back, told my wife, and we laughed, went to bed, got back out of bed because I couldn't stop thinking about it. Contacted my team in China. By the time the sun came up, I had an entire business plan and an entire product worked out.
Amazing.
Pillowcases, simple pillowcases, and they had messages on them. Split the bed in half. So the first one said, half the bed, the dog sleeps here. Half the bed, the wife sleeps here. And then squished up on the very edge said, the husband sleeps here. It was cute little font, squishy. People loved it. Actually, eventually grew that into over 36 different variations on pillowcases. We expanded it out to throw pillows. It became very, very big. As I said, we're in Bed Bath & Beyond. We are in Francesca's. We are in Belk. Where else were we? We were Amazon vendor, Amazon 1P, and so on. Okay, we were retail on that was $30. Our price was just over $2, and we were wholesaling them for $14.99.
Amazing. That's
So,
amazing. Yeah, so that's something what'll always exist. If you can come up with some kind of I understand that I think that's where the money is today for savvy US private label sellers because you can't just go anywhere and like you said, even changing the color, changing the size is not going to get you. But something like that, a simple ingenuity is I think that's where you can still make a lot of money. You said something about woman negotiating. Why would it be different with a woman negotiating than a man?
oh, that's really interesting. Back in the 80s, China had a policy, a one-child policy. And there's all sorts of horror stories about it, but the reality is lots and lots of families had a daughter. China is traditionally a very a tiered society. Men are here, women are here. But those daughters grew up and the parents grew up. And when they hit 55 and 60, they have to retire. The mother and father have to retire, which means that daughter suddenly takes over large companies. And the companies could be media buying companies. One of the largest in China is run by a woman. Real estate companies. I know a woman who's got 3 floors of the tallest building in Shanghai, factories, and so on. And these women have, I hope it's not an offensive thing to say, but they have like a dragon power. So it's men, it's women, and there are these dragon women who are business owners and executives. They are movers and shakers, and they can negotiate with more resolutely. They can figuratively dig their heels in more when they're negotiating with Chinese factories than anyone can dig their heels in any boardroom in any Western country. They'll be called a witch, just pronounced differently. In China, it's very much an honorable position. And I think we talked about it a little bit, but here's another interesting part of it. If you come to China, and this is something I literally just picked up in the last few days while I was here. If you come to China as a woman and you negotiate, not only do you have all of that, but if you wear a black blazer, a black jacket, a lot of these power women wear a black jacket. So it's just you established even more that you understand the Chinese way. And if you understand the Chinese way, that's going to get you so far at your negotiations.
Right, I love it. Trading companies. Is there ever a time we were paid, other than being lazy, but is there any value in using a trading company versus finding a factory?
Yeah, actually are. But it is more geared towards people who are selling to retailers as well as online. Online, each of your items are transaction based. When you're selling to a retailer, and I just used the example of my pillowcases and we expanded into throw pillows are incredibly competitive. There's no way that we would be able to launch throw pillows and really make a name for ourselves. But retailers, we like to take it easy. If they're buying the pillowcases and they see a simple add-on product, oh, look, there's these throw pillows as well, might as well just add them to the order. So those throw pillows didn't have to be unique. They don't have to be special. In our case, they were, but that's not a necessity. I've got one of my clients that's got this incredibly unique, very, very cool kitchen product, cooking product. And it's easy for her to go to a trading company and get all sorts of utensils and other kitchen items in the same colors and style as her unique product. Now they become add-on. No reason for her to have to reinvent every single product. No reason to innovate them. We just go to Iwu and find them inexpensively at trading companies, or you can find them on Alibaba. Alibaba is about at least 60, 70% trading companies. So in that case, when you sell to retailers and it's an add-on, that's fantastic. It builds out your product line. But in general, when you're selling on Amazon, you want to treat each one of your products, even part of a brand, you want to treat each one of them uniquely. And you do want to innovate, not just because you're able to make them stand out, but your supplier, if your supplier is saying this is going to cost $5, and you say, no, I need it at $3. If they say no to you, it doesn't hurt them. They know they've got 25 people behind you lined up to buy the same thing at $5. Right. But if it's unique, if you're the only person doing that particular product, now they don't have 25 other people. They want to work with you. Furthermore, their competitors are not selling this product. So you're more valuable to them because they have a revenue stream their competitors don't. So there's two more reasons to be innovative.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Did you ever, I know in my days, in our days, I should say, this used to happen a lot. You would send money to China and nothing will ever come. Has that ever happened to you?
No,
Really?
Never. But on the other hand, I started off selling to retailers in 2001, started buying products from China in 2005. I had good people around me from the very, very beginning. As I said, I had my team at Microsoft introduced me to people and so on. And the other thing is, back then, COVID was terrible. But pre-COVID and now after COVID, go to China, meet your supplier. It makes all the difference in the world. If you're not going to China and you can't meet your supplier, have an audit done by a real inspection company, not by someone who's making money by fibbing to you. Most people don't have an audit. So the moment you have an audit done, you understand your factory. You get to see your supplier. You get to see if it's a factory or not. And they now put you into a different bucket. They see you differently than every other generic person that shows up. You do all that. You do your due diligence. You dot your I's, cross your T's. And I've never had a problem transferring money to China.
Right, that's great. That's reassuring. So, one final question. This is probably the most common question I get. Somebody is middle of his career, her career. They lost their job. They heard stuff about Amazon because I get that a lot. They hear at Rosenberg something, Amazon, you can make money, and they always want to know, how can I make money on Amazon? And to me, it's almost like saying, like, how can I make money on Main Street? I mean, it's Amazon is just Main Street. So, what would you advise someone who doesn't have a smart person, someone who's smart, someone who's ambitious, doesn't have millions of dollars, doesn't have connections to great companies, but he has the ability to innovate? What path will you tell him to take where he at least has a chance to succeed if he works hard?
Number one, innovate. Work on your own product. Product comes first. That's where all profits come from. Look at your own life. What is something that you like to do? Do you like to ski or snowboard? You know more about that than other people. I owned a little pug. I knew more about pugs than any other dog, and I knew, how they had to have a harness, not a collar, and all these other things. If you like to cook or travel, do photography, focus on those things where you have expertise, where you are your own customer. That will help you figure out ways to innovate. Then when it comes to sourcing, go to China. It's a little bit more expensive now. Pre-COVID, I could go back and forth from Seattle to China for round trip for under $500. Now it's about 2 to 3 times that. It's still worth it. Go to China, go to the Canton Fair. There's lots of groups. I have a group. I have friends that have groups. Go with a group. You'll find it a lot easier than going by yourself the first time. It is huge. It's overwhelming. But find suppliers in person. Focus on factories, not on trading companies. And this is the most important part. Get a price that's going to give you profit from day one. And that means, particularly for unique products, understanding what people are going to pay. So there's an old movie director named Billy Wilder. He said, if you have a problem in the third act, it began in the first act. Mm-hmm. So at the very beginning, when you have your idea, I say, okay, I'm going to make this particular product. Use Pick Fu if you have to. Go out and talk to people, not your family, not your friends. They love you. They're going to not give you honest answers. Tell them, hey, I'm thinking about this product. Do you have this problem? Does this solve a problem? Is this something you would buy? And then you say, if you saw this on a store shelf, what do you think the price would be? And that's a very carefully crafted sentence. If, here we go. This is every hotel. So this is a little plant. Let's say that you were asking people about little plastic plants. One person might say, I hate plastic plants. I wouldn't pay a penny for it. But if I saw it in the store shelf, I would expect the price to be $5. So you find out what people think the price would be after you confirm they actually want your product. And now that becomes the retail price, simply divided by 7. And now you know what your manufacturing costs are going to be.
Right.
If I drove across from Connecticut to Seattle, and I was coming close to you to Yellowstone. Was it Yellowstone? Yellowstone. And there was a rest stop. Someone had put graffiti, but it was so great, they left it there. It said, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know if you've arrived?
Right.
It's the same negotiation. You have to know what your target price is. Because if it's not your target price, get up to leave. You don't have to deal with that supplier. And if it's your target price, then good. Now you've got the price that you want. You know you're going to be profitable. So get that price. It's actually economic terms, WTP, willingness to pay. Find out what people want to pay for your product. Divide it by 7. That's the price you want your manufacturing. You get that, you'll have your 7X.
Right.
And if you make it different, PPC costs become less because you don't have as many people to compete against. Hopefully none. And the price is profitable.
Right. So I think the American advantage, because it used to be we were better at branding, better at picture taking, better manuals. And now the Chinese are just as good with AI, and they just hire companies. So the advantage now, I think, is the innovation, being boots on the ground and what people want and what people need. Little changes or adjustments of products, and like what you did with the pillowcases.
I was I gave a talk for Alibaba last month in front of 2,000 suppliers in Shenzhen. These suppliers have Westerners on their teams. These are people who live here. They came back after COVID. They'll be at the parties during COVID, during Canton Fair, or you'll see them at the fair or at the hotels, whatever. These people are working for the factories. So they understand branding. They understand how to make their products look like there's quality. They're able to say, we've got customer service, all the things that Westerners think only they know about.
Right.
There are Westerners helping the factories do exactly the same thing. But the factories they're run by people who are Chinese, who are raised to follow the rules. They don't color outside the lines like we do. It's our advantage. We can think of things and
Right,
change things in ways that they can't.
right,
And that you could leverage.
right. Amazing, amazing. So this was really an eye opener, and I really appreciate you come on. Any information to get a hold of you, I'll put under the video. And I appreciate you sharing these pearls of wisdom, and I think we're going to get a great response. Thank you so much, and have a safe trip.
Thank you. Take care. Have a
Okay,
good day,
you
morning,
too.
night. I have no idea what it is.
It's
Enjoy
12 in the
yourself.
afternoon. Thank you so much.
There we
Bye.
go. Take care.